Hey, it's Trader Girl ATX with my not going to do an end of day update for today, Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. I'll do that at the end. But right now, since it was a Federal Reserve meeting day, I'm going to tell you about the worst trade ever of my life and how it's literally changed my life years later. I'm still dealing with the aftermath from that trade. I don't want to think back to exactly which year it was, but let's say this was, it's either 3 years ago or 4 years ago, in July. At the time, oil stocks were on a fire. They were on a turn, but the WTI had started going down. And I, being the smart girl that I am, expected oil stocks to also start going down and follow the WTI. But did they? No. They just kept going up day after day after day after day after, insert 10,000 bad words here, day. I was naive in ignoring the fact that all the mainstream media, CNBC, all the like, all they could do all day, every day was pump oil stocks. And it didn't matter one bit that the WTI was going down. But silly little me, I was fighting it every step of the way. Anyway, at the time, I had traded so much and hit so many large numbers in terms of the volume of shares that I was actively trading. It was in my own account. I'm just a regular girl. And there's a certain level of numbers with the dollars that you push through the market and as well as the profits that you make in a certain time, that the SEC will come after you and insist that you fill out a form called a large trader ID. Go Google it. You'll read whatever the requirements are for a large trader ID that the SEC, Securities and Exchange Commission, will demand you complete, and your broker will demand you complete it. So at the time I was trading with TradeStation and I had to fill out that form. Anyway, I still don't think I did it right, but I tried. There was some question on there I didn't want to answer. Anyway, things had been going pretty well, or statistically, apparently, factors indicated or appeared that I was doing well with my trading at the time. But also in that time of my life, I had just recently gotten a divorce, and the man I started dating started not being nice times a million. And horrible things were happening in my personal life. And I was in this trade. Anyway, I had just shorted 6 legs down of ExxonMobil on this fine day in July. And I knew it was getting sketchy because I was already down at the low of the day, 6 legs down of, repeated, ongoing, consistently winning trades. Sometimes I will sell the day low because it'll just keep on going when there's power to the downward move. And for ExxonMobil, this was a big deal to be moving down. It had been over $100 a share. Anyway, like I said, this was a couple years ago. It's a flashback I'm having here. Anyway, I knew it was sketchy, but I still wanted to go for it. But I meant to put on 100 shares for my original entry into this position, because that's how I always entered my positions, was with just 100 shares at a time. But turns out I had added significant size to my previous trade of 1,800 shares. So when I hit my little button to execute the trade, it automatically filled in the size of my last trade of 1,800. So I got to short 1,800 shares of ExxonMobil at the day low. It was $89. And I looked at my screen and thought, oops, that wasn't the right size. I'm flying too fast here, too close to the sun. And literally no sooner than I saw that happen on my screen, then it jumped up $5 against me. And I was in shock, and I thought, oh my God, like what was that? Exxon doesn't jump $5 at a time. But I forgot it was a Fed meeting day, and it jumped $5 against me, and it was off to the races. At one point on the pullback, I could have taken like a $200 or $300 loss, but silly me, didn't do it. I ended up getting 5 margin calls. I mean, it's meaning this dragged on for like 5 days. And then finally, I was still convinced it was going to go back down to $89 again. I knew it would happen, but sometimes you have to wait. And if I had been doing so well with my trading, I just told myself, well, it's okay. You'll just make it back. Just take the loss, move on. And so I did. And it was literally like within the next 30 hours, it did come back and hit. I just needed basically one more day to get out for break even or a profit. And that really sucks. And that is my worst trade ever of all time. And I was in that trade, and why I was shorting was because the WTI kept going down, even though ExxonMobil and all the other oil stocks kept going up and up and up. And it was making me mad because in my logical smart girl brain, I think that these stocks should have some sort of basis in fundamentals. And that's just really naive and ignorant and childish of me, because there was people like Kramer and everyone on CNBC all day, every day doing the pump, pump, pump on oil stocks. And, you know, girls can't beat that. So I decided at that point that I could no longer trade stocks. I needed to move over and trade futures, and specifically the NASDAQ, because I don't care if it goes up or if it goes down. I have really no dog in the fight, whatever the saying is. I just don't care if it goes up or goes down. Whereas like a stock like Exxon or oils, those are based on some sort of underlying fundamentals. And I think things should happen, and that's a very dangerous thing to do as a trader. I do better when I think nothing, know nothing. And that's why I trade a 15-second chart with NASDAQ futures, and I will never, ever, 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 ever hold overnight ever again, so I can never have that pain. I traded it for a different kind of pain. You know what? Let me read you my stats real quick. We'll do my end of day update right now. September 17th, 2025, net $8,432.60 with an 89.81% win rate. I took 108 trades, profit factor 12.70. My win-loss ratio was 1.44. Average trade duration, 2 minutes, 7 seconds. And I was long 77.78% of the time, which I love because the market was collapsing. It was down like 100 points or so. And I love that I was long. Anyway, I pretty tend to be contrarian. My first trade I took, if you wanted to follow along, was at 10:19 a.m. Central Time, and I got out of my last trade at 11:57 a.m. Central Time. I did not live stream today. I just kind of didn't feel like it. My 3-day running tally, my performance stats, it was an 87.26% win rate with 314 trades total taken. I was long 32.48% of the time, which is awesome considering the market's been falling. My best trade was $2,433, and my worst trade was a loss of $232.80, which is super cool because that means my biggest winner was 10 times the size of my biggest loser. Profit factor was 17.6, and my net was $33,647.40. I'm out of time. Thank you. Please like, follow, subscribe. I know these end of day updates get kind of boring, but they're a necessary evil as I try to establish some credibility, street cred with my trader gangsters. Anyway, I did start Trader Posse the other day. I have some plans for you boys. Thanks for listening. Take care. God bless.